Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with our weekly recap of all things Injustice. This is for the week of March 27th, 2025. The current character challenge is Suicide Squad Joker. That is a 1 week repeat. The required characters are none required characters, or at least at normal difficulty. There's only 9 fights in each ladder instead of the normal 12, and 12 and 15, I guess, for this ladder. And you get better prizes. You get a silver pack, a gear locker, and a gold pack instead of the usual bronze, credits, and silver pack. And at higher difficulties, the requirements are Wonder Woman, Batgirl, and Batman, who are available at silver, challenge, gold, and gold. But really, there's no reason to ever do it at a higher level than normal anyways.
Right, because you're unlocking
as long as you're using the reset.
Yeah. But even if unlocking it the first time is enough.
His passive is Maniac, which is the Joker can't wait to show you his toys. A powerful random effect will occur on his special one. He receives 10% less damage and deals 10% more damage for each additional Suicide Squad member on your team. He's got 1,350 attack, 1,350 health. Was last available just about a year ago, March 14th of last year. Yeah,
I love the Suicide Squad characters challenges because they are all like this, where the requirements are less, the barrier to entry is lower. It's great for starting players.
They're faster to grind, they're easier to grind, they're better to grind,
So he's got good high stats. The first part is passive, that random effect on special one, I could do with or without. It doesn't really do anything for me, especially since his damage is reduced as a percentage of his attack to give that random effect. It's almost like the first part isn't even a passive. Second part is really good. On a team with Suicide Squad teammates, you're effectively increasing his already high base attack stat, and reduced damage is sort of like having a increased health stat. So that's the equivalent of a base character with 1620 of each instead of 1350. But where he really shines and what you're looking at now in the footage as a teammate with Suicide Squad Harley Quinn, they are inextricably linked if you're going to make the most with either one of them. And I think that's perfectly appropriate given their characters and their character arcs in the comics. And Harley Quinn's Special 2 is what makes Joker spectacular. And that, no hyperbole there. I think this is a great combo. So if you want to get into semantic argument about which one of them is really the star, you can see that they both are based on the damage that is attributed to them. Sometimes Joker gets credit for way more damage. Sometimes it's Harley Quinn. And we've done quite a few videos on a Suicide Squad Joker team. Playlist linked in the description. And this current run, I'm going to point out again, and I love doing this every time because it's just so much kind of neat trivia. So the damage on Suicide Squad Harley Quinn Special 2 when you use Joker, when you pick him, is based on Joker's damage stat. It's boosted by his passive, that plus 10% per Suicide Squad teammate, and it's enhanced by any of his gears that has an effect on his Special 2. I mean, the damage has to be based on something, but it's a little funny to me that, all right, so look, when he comes in, it's his Special 1 animation, which is the gunshot. You're using Suicide Squad Harley Quinn Special 2 and using up her power. It has something approximating his damage stat or his base Special 2 damage, both around 50k, as the base damage, but is affected by his Special 2 modifiers. And it's not... And none of this is really intuitively obvious, but you can discover it with some experimentation. And he's doing a ton of damage while spending either no time or very little time counting against him. When you look at the clock at the end of the fight, 0 time. And what makes him sort of spectacular is it doesn't matter if the opponent is blocking. You're seeing the full unblocked damage every time. His gear in the current setup is Kryptonian Rifle, which we're doing it for the 30% crit chance on Special 2. He's also got Demon Blade, which is the only gear that boosts crit chance and damage of Special 2, which makes it very unique. It's only 2.5 stars. I love using it on my specialist. Despite that. And he's got both the 30% crit chance on Special 2, which with his augmentation means he's 100% critting. And it also has a 15% damage boost to Special 2. And the last thing we've got on Joker's Fourth World Godly Mace, which has the splash damage on Special 2. It's got the 25% damage boost to Special 2. And it's also got a 30% power drain chance on Special 2. And you'll notice in if you get to see the footage here of the Red Sun Green Lantern team. So Red Sun Green Lantern, his passive is, I think, 20% reduction in special damage. plus no crit damage and no stun. You can see in the animation, crit damage, because it's not the character in front of them. So you can still get crit damage out of the Joker on Harley Quinn Special 2 against a Red Sun. And the only thing saving them, the reason why they're not getting knocked out on one hit, is because even though the crit part of the passive isn't working, the special damage reduction is. And so the only time you really struggle in these fights with the Suicide Squad team is you'll notice that the full crit damage is about 160,000. Is when you're dealing with characters that have a bigger health pool than that, because then instead of getting her power back, you're having to tag out. You're gonna have to dance around a bit to try to make things work.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of alternatives. I mean, you don't have to use Fourth World Godly Mace once you've got Kryptonian Rifle and Demon Blade, which is wild because those are a 3.5-star gear and a 2.5-star gear. You can use the third slot for something to give you a bit of extra kick, but those I think are the two sort of most important ones. What else? I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can say about Harley, but really it's Joker. This is sort of the optimized usage for Joker. And she gets credit for the damage if the opponent's not knocked out, but he gets credit for damage if the opponent's knocked out. And if the opponent has like a damage reflect, very often he's the one that takes the damage from it.
Weird. So weird behavior.
Yeah.
So there we go. We are 48 weeks into whatever is going on right now, right? It makes the most sense to understand it as a challenge cycle, but it's hard to know for sure. We expect next week to be Ame Kami Catwoman.
Right.
Ame Kami? I don't know how to pronounce that. Amecomi.
Yeah. So we're still waiting on something between now and May the 15th. By May the 15th, we will definitely
we'll have new information.
Something. We'll have seen something that tells us,
We'll have information that we didn't have before, no matter what.
Yeah.
So this week's multiplayer reward is the Militarized Batmobile. We're experiencing another sort of skip, right? A deviation from expectation.
This is the second one. We missed Soul Taker's Sword, and then this should have been Flashpoint Deathstroke. Totally skipped right over it.
Yeah. So the abilities when it's maxed out is a 25% max health increase, a Batman specific ability, which is a 20% super move damage increase. All the rest are Batman specific abilities. So we also have a 100% area effect. Opponent's team takes 25% damage from your super move, and then a 100% chance of 5-second invulnerability after your super move is activated.
Right.
So 3 abilities for Batman. The only thing that you get is health, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, what we should say...
Well, there's only one ability that isn't for Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great. Don't love it.
So what we should say is that upcoming, we expect next week to either be Blackest Night Doomsday or Ares, depending on whether or not they're skipping consistently now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But, which is to say, we actually don't know what to expect next week.
Exactly. So... as a legendary gear, this is awful. I mean, you can contrast that specifically with a 2.5-star gear like Demon Blade, which has so much more utility. So, all right, so we already said there's only one ability that isn't for Batman. The health boost is 25%. Lots of gears can give more. Yeah. There's a bunch of 4.5-star gears that give 40% instead of the 25%. All 3 other effects are tied to a super move, which very rarely comes into play.
Yeah, I would say, honestly, most gears in the game are better than this, just straight up.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do it more often, maybe if in the Phantom Zone requirements when you're letting fights drag out so you can satisfy that super move requirement, that's the exception. And the effects, even when you get them, aren't that great. 20% super move damage increase, 25% splash damage, 5 seconds invulnerability, which is shorter than the Astro Harness. They are inconsequential if you're getting that maybe once per fight. And originally, when the game was first released, the super move was actually useful. There's some value in hoarding 3 bars of power instead of doing a special 1 or 2.
But now there's blocks and there's automatic blocks, right? You don't even need to be holding the block. And I will point out that change happened at the same time as gear was introduced, right? So it's not that there was ever a time where this gear was more useful. It was always about as bad as it was, right? They didn't make the change afterwards.
Yeah. Was it though?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Multiplayer and gear were released at the same time.
All right. So the other thing about this is that back when it was released, it was actually a little bit better.
Or sorry, not multiplayer and gear. Blocking. The block update was released at the same time as gear. It was released at the same time. I don't remember if that was multiplayer.
That's what I'm saying. I
think
remember.
multiplayer already existed, but I think they might have added last lap tickets and
whatever.
Survivor.
But at this point, I mean, we can look back on it. There was one point where it was almost good because when you had Arkham Origins Batman, he did not have the restriction that he could not get the third bar of power from Batgirl. So that was actually legitimate kind of loadout. You either use Batgirl or you could use Ra's al Ghul's Scimitar. He comes in with 3 bars of power at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can do super. That was great. And then you could have that effect. And didn't make it a legendary gear, really, but it did make it way more interesting and useful and worth considering. So, yeah, because 5 seconds invulnerability is really not enough when you spent so much time building up for 3 bars. Yeah, that's it. Good for completionists, not that useful for people who are using it to fight.
Moving on to what's in the store, we have the Amikami Catwoman pack that is for $12.99 Canadian.
The only currency that matters.
There we go. It is a clue to next week's challenge. It doesn't come with credits, and it is the cheaper version. It's not the $24.99 that comes with 100,000 power credits, or occasionally the $24.99 that comes with no power credits.
That's the worst.
Yeah. It doesn't unlock a copy in your store, which means that you should probably just wait and earn her the old-fashioned way,
right.
As long as you have time to play next week and you don't specifically really, really want her.
Yeah.
We also have the Femme Fatale pack. But that is in its second week. I think the only other new one is the character bundle Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That's $24.99 Canadian.
What's interesting, when it was first introduced, it was $19. And ever since then, when it comes back, it's been the $25.
Yeah, and so that comes with Suicide Squad Harley Quinn, Suicide Squad Joker, and 2 random gears out of 5. You get a 35% chance of getting each of their signature gears, and there's a 10% chance of getting each of their companion gears.
Right.
I assume that's for each gear is individually rolled.
Right,
Otherwise, the odds wouldn't really... They would add up to more than 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else? All the other packs have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Phantom Zone is finished. We expect it to come back probably in a couple weeks, like usual pattern. Fight 62 is still broken. Last weekend's breakthrough for golds was Cyborg, Batgirl, and Black Adam. This coming weekend is probably going to be Deadshot, Wonder Woman, and Static. Link in the description to a thread in the Injustice Mobile subreddit from Devlin16, one of the mods there, that goes over the complete breakthrough cycle.
Yep. As far as current glitches go, we go into more detail every time something changes, which basically never happens. And barring that, we go through it anyways on the first week of every month, the first recap of every month. Most recently, that was on the 6th of March of this month, and it will be, I believe, next week's.
Right. Yeah. And you can see a video tutorial for every working glitch in our playlist, Current Working Glitches, linked in the description of this video. The main thing worth mentioning is that Challenge Reset Glitch has been confirmed to be working on this week's Suicide Squad Joker Challenge.
Yep.
And that's
there we go. So yeah, to finish up, we'd like to give a huge thanks to all of our lovely patrons on Patreon. And this is both an obligation and something that we earnestly would like to do, right?
Yeah.
We really do feel it. That's a thank you to Michael Devries, Irvin Ruiz, Hoshi127, and Nora Klimek supporting us on the credited level. So thank you so much. And thanks so much to all of you for supporting however you do. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.